Hi, my name is Kainson Munonye, and today we are going to look at this process, control scope. Control scope falls under the project scope management knowledge area, and it also falls under the monitoring and controlling process group. Previously, on the project scope management knowledge area, we've discussed the 3 planning processes and 1 monitoring and controlling processes. 1 monitoring and controlling process. Can you remember the 3 planning process we discussed under the project scope management knowledge area? Plan scope management, collect requirements, define scope, create WBS. Actually 4 planning processes, and then we have 2 monitoring and controlling processes. One of them is validate scope. That is the previous presentation, and now control scope. What is control scope? According to the Pinboard guide, control scope is a process of monitoring the status of the project and product scope and managing changes to the scope baseline. The key benefit of this process is that it allows the scope baseline to be maintained throughout the project. Controlling the project scope ensures that all requested changes are recommended, and recommended corrective action or preventive actions are processed through the perform integrated change control process. Control scope is also used to manage the actual changes when they occur and is integrated with other control processes. The uncontrolled expansion to product or project scope without adjustment to time, cost and resources is referred to as scope creep. Scope creep is a deficiency in project management, and it should be avoided. All changes must pass through the integrated change control process, meaning that the impact of this change has to be considered across the knowledge areas. You need to look at the impact on time, the impact on the cost, will it require additional human resource, and so on. This is the perform integrated change control. You know that change cannot be avoided, therefore some type of change control process is mandatory for every project. The inputs are project management plan, requirement documentation, requirement traceability matrix, work performance data, and organizational process assets. Always remember that control scope process has only 1 tools and techniques: variance analysis. We'll take a closer look at variance analysis shortly, but take note of the output of control scope. We have change requests, work performance information, project documents, updates, organizational process assets. We also have one I did not include here: project management plan updates. Alright, we have project management plan as an input. Although we know that scope management plan is a subsidiary of the project management plan, but the Pinboard guide specifically mentioned that the input should be project management plan. The input should be project management plan and not the scope management plan. Why do we need the project management plan for control scope? The reason is that the information required to control the scope includes the scope baseline, the scope management plan, the change management plan, and other management plans and baselines. All these are contained in the project management plan, therefore we need it to control scope. Requirement documentation is also required. Requirements should be unambiguous, traceable, complete, consistent, and acceptable to key stakeholders. Requirements traceability matrix. This helps to detect the impact of any any change or deviation from the scope baseline on the process objectives. We also need work performance data. Work performance data can include the number of change requests received, the number of requests accepted, or the number of deliverables completed. Remember, work performance data are measurements taken in the course of the project execution or in the course of project monitoring and controlling. Alright, let's now look at the only tools and techniques. We are saying that we have just one, but we are using tools and techniques, plural, and then we just have one. That is how it's presented in the pinball guide. Variance analysis is a technique for determining the cause and degree of difference between the baseline and actual performance. Project performance measurements are used to assess the magnitude and variation from the original scope baseline. Important aspect of project scope control includes determining the cause and degree of variance relative to the scope baseline and deciding whether corrective or preventive action is required. And so, variance analysis is used as the single tools and techniques for control scope. Just as a reminder, variance analysis tries to check the deviation of the actual performance to the laid out baseline in the project management plan. This deviation is monitored and controlled during the control scope process. Control scope has 5 outputs: project management plan updates, change requests, because along the line we are checking and there is deviation from the laid out baseline and there is considerable deviation. You have to try to correct it. Sometimes the customer may decide that there are some changes that needs to be made, and then you need a change request for you to be able to process these changes. Or the team might notice that there is something that needs to be corrected, some part of the scope that have not been included during the project execution, and then a change request has to be drawn out to be able to do this. Work performance information. This information produced includes correlated and contextualized information on how the project scope is performing compared to the scope baseline. Another output is project documents updates. Remember, project documents updates may include requirements documentation updates or updates to the requirement traceability matrix. And then another output might be organizational process assets updates. This might include causes of variation, corrective actions chosen, and reasons, other type of lessons learned from project scope control. This is where we are wrapping it up on the control scope process. And this is the last process we are going to discuss under the project scope management knowledge area. Just a recap of the ITTOs of the control scope. The inputs are project management plan, requirements documentation, requirements traceability matrix, organizational process assets, work performance data. Just one tools and techniques, and that is variance analysis. Outputs are change request, work performance information, project document update, organizational process assets update, and of course project management plan updates. I'd like to thank you for viewing, and I hope you've learned something from this. Do check out the next presentation as we start discussion of a completely brand new knowledge area, and that is project time management.